respect. Honor them with quick deaths, and I with your victory.
Hey guys, this is my Hydroid build, and I'm gonna preface this video by saying that I strongly disagree with the majority of the Warframe community, if not the entirety of the Warframe community, because whenever I try to check any existing builds and stuff like that for Hydroid, I just see everybody saying don't even bother, he's one of the weakest Warframes in the game, he needs to be buffed to be any good, he's kind of lame, there's way better Warframes, and I'm gonna have to disagree with that statement very strongly. Now, I'm gonna elaborate what I mean as I guess I'll start showing you guys the gameplay of this build. So as you can see, I replaced his second ability with pull. Oh, actually this is a pretty good run. Now, pull allows you to pull enemies into the puddle where they take scaling damage, which is reason number one why he's one of the best Warframes in the game, in my opinion. He has scaling damage. Now, at first you're not really going to be able to see it because I need to actually kill a bunch of them to start racking up the damage with Mult Augmented, as you can see. This has been a pretty bad start, not many energy orbs. But once you rack up the damage a little bit, you just pull all the enemies into your swamp, and then you roll, you get energy back because you're pulling all the drops to you due to Pull's Augment, where again they take scaling damage. And reason number two why Hydroid is one of the best Warframes in the game in my opinion. So reason number one, scaling damage. Reason number two, invulnerability. I can stay invulnerable, or truly invulnerable, like really invulnerable, where not invulnerability like Rhino, which can run out, but more invulnerability like Nyx and Valkyr, which is energy dependent. And reason number three is, of course, the fact that he can increase loot drops. So, as I'm pulling everything to me and killing stuff, I'm actually getting better loot while being completely immune to damage and being able to cast my abilities to kill stuff while being invulnerable. I can't imagine why anybody thinks that he isn't good. Okay, now that we got rid of the annoying guy. Now I think that pull is really what makes Hydroid feel really fun to play and actually be good, because mobility drains lots of energy, and that's kind of all of the invulnerable Warframe's downfall. But pull kind of compensates for that because it pulls the drops to you so that you don't have to move too much, at the same time as it pulls enemies towards you so that they can drown in your scaling damage puddle. And of course also when you cast your tentacles, that are the ones that are responsible for increasing your loot, they spawn from inside the puddle, so everything basically works from where you are and you don't have to move too much. And it's relatively safe even when you're outside of it, as long as you have some tentacles out that can kind of take some of the heat away from you. I'm not even using Rolling Guard, and I'm just using the basic shield gating, and that's enough for me to be able to tank almost everything. Now, of course, I'm not really focusing on the objective right now, more on showcasing what this thing can do. That's why I'm going to probably fail the mission in a little bit. But this is kind of what I mean. Slowly by slowly, Mult Augmented is getting more and more kills. My damage is going up and up. due to that, and that compensates for putting 3 augment mods on this build. And I think all 3 of them are pretty necessary, and it's kind of painful that you don't get to just slap a bunch of ability strength mods to make Hydroid better. Basically, okay, I'll backpedal a little bit. The reason why a lot of people think that Hydroid is bad is because he doesn't have too much ability strength, which is true, but Malt Augmented is such a good arcane that it should not be underestimated, and having 60 ability strength without wasting any mods on it is pretty great. So even if I'm a little bit below, I'm still fine, because overall once it ranks up to max, I'm going to have 159 strength, which is decent, or at least decent enough when it comes to damage, because damage is scaling, and when damage is scaling, it's not that big of a deal. Even high level content, you could still deal with it on the basis that you deal scaling damage. So, as you can see, I have Corroding Barrage. This is to strip some of the armor and increase the damage dealt to the enemies that you're actually fighting. This is pretty critical. Pilfering Swarm increases the loot, which is, I suppose, the reason why you would be ever playing Hydroid in the first place, so this is also critical. And Greedy Pull is what unintuitively allows you to keep your energy up. And this doesn't affect pull in any way besides pulling the drops to you. So I suppose this one could go, but since you're replacing your mobility ability, you need some way of collecting drops, and you need some way of pulling the enemies to you, so that's why you're going to be using Pull with Greedy Pull. And as I showed you, with just Greedy Pull, and of course Primed Flow and Arcane Energize, you're able to pretty much keep your energy up at all times. You could possibly replace Streamline with Equilibrium if you don't spam as many abilities, and if you want to depend more on the scaling damage, then you could do this and kind of make sure that you can tap into another source of energy, but I don't really find that necessary. I think Streamline here is a little bit better. The reason why I'm not using something like Fleeting Expertise is because Fleeting Expertise is a terrible mod. It's absolutely horrific, because if you think about it, you're wasting 11 points and a mod slot, and you're gaining a total of 0 in your stats here, and that's absolutely catastrophic. I'm using Overextended to counteract the because I'm counteracting the negative 60 ability strength with Malt Augmented. I can afford to have a little bit more range with only 1 mod, and this build needs range a lot, because pulling enemies into the Undertow is based purely on range in both forms. You can both pull them with Pull, and you can pull them one by one with Undertow itself by attacking, but I would just recommend using Pull. It's even cheaper when in terms of the energy cost of grabbing enemies overall, I think, because this is 3.5 per 1 enemy, and this is 17.5 for pulling all enemies in range of pull. This is the build, and I hope you enjoy.